steps. I just have to correct a big mistake we made this morning. Several, you remember when we had coffee at late in the morning at 9:15? I asked you what you and Raul had said, or your group had said about this workshop, and you told me, I wrote it down, I have it here, sustainable, suitable, successful, substantial. And I thought that's what we said, but obviously there's a mistake, because Katharina, she corrected me before and said, that's not true. You said yesterday one of the 4 S's was satisfying. And I think that's important too, and I hope it was like this, and I found the last little S, which stands for the... You want to eat it, Stefan? Structured. Whoa. Thank you. Great. Okay. Yes. As we said, I mean, we're going to take as long as this needs now, and I would ask those who kind of summarized the workshops to come back on stage. We have 2 mics, we can share them a bit. There's one also for the audience if you want to contribute, and that we just go through the workshops. Probably one question that was asked by several people is about the communication of this. I mean, first we're going to discuss it. I have to see. I wrote this just now before, so maybe it's not perfect. Excuse me if there's any mistakes. So there's 3 things we should keep in mind regarding the communication. The moderators, commissioner colleagues, they know we asked kind of to summarize the workshop. They moderated on a maximum of 2 A4 pages, like papers of the symposium if you want, or just papers where we have everything that was important. And again, it's not about details, it's not about this and that, it's really more about what can be used for the future. This should be on these 2 pages, and if we put that together, we'll have, I don't know, 10 pages probably, where we summarize the 2 days. That's the idea. So I propose, tell me if it's realistic, to do this by end of November. And another question which I probably ask in this open round, is it okay for everybody if we deal with these things quite publicly? I mean, they should also be written in a way that we can publish them. Is that okay for everybody? Or I ask the other way, has someone doubts about this, or we will send it to you so you can handle it as you like within your organization, your pavilion, and we will also see where we put it. So this is one step which takes a bit longer because we need to write down things properly. A second step which is going to happen, I would suggest, which I'm happy to try to write by next Monday, a little kind of press release if you want. It's going to be probably half an A4 page. We cannot manage from our side this week because we still have quite a big finissage program, but if that's beginning of the week, if that's fine for you, that's okay. And what we can offer is a very, very short text which we could share with everybody who is interested for Instagram purposes. Of course, you can write whatever you want, you know. I think it's just important that this is a shared event, that we've done it together, but we'll try to do 2-3 sentences. I'm in touch with one of our communication specialists, Caroline Widmer from London, and she's happy to correct the phrase tonight, and I would like to share it. I'm not quite sure how we deal with this regarding, because it's a big mailing list. Probably it makes sense that those who really need this for Instagram or whatever tonight, the other things we'll send to everybody, that's not a problem. But who needs to communicate or wants to communicate over the Instagram, maybe Anita, if we can put a list up so people can write their names, and then later tonight we can send them this short Instagram text. And of course it would be nice to have some images. So I have some images on my phone which I can happily give. Again, is everybody who is here happy to use these images? First question. And then second, I don't know, there was a professional camera in the space. Did anyone take professional photos we could share as well? Or is the person not here anymore? No, there was someone here today with asking for that camera. No? Gone. Okay, well, Well, you can use your photos in that case, or we will also provide in that mail 2, 3 photos or 5 photos probably for Instagram purpose. Not super high resolution, but usable for Instagram. But you're free to use your photos. Is that okay for everybody? Yeah? Okay. So far about the communication. And yeah, let's have a look now at the summary and discuss the questions and try to get to a kind of final statement. Probably I will, maybe, Tommaso is now busy. Tommaso, maybe it would be good to have one of the whiteboards here, and maybe if we could, just in case you needed to write some important kind of to-dos on the whiteboard, that could be useful in case it's necessary. Okay, so I would please ask the participants of the 3 workshops, those who will summarize, maybe to make it again a bit a conversational situation, to come on stage. If there's more chairs needed, we can put more chairs up. There is more chairs needed, so yeah, take a red one, yeah. Stay on the stage. Okay. And probably just go by numbers. You have the mix. Just go by numbers and take your time. We should really kind of try to see what is the result, what is the to-dos. And please, from the audience, intervene if you have something to add or contradict.
So I begin. We are the French team from the workshop 4. So it's the 4, no? Our workshop that we moderated today was about the French pavilion 5 years approach towards a low carbon strategy that we implemented. So it's the Institut Français, the commissioner of the French pavilion, and Arter, which is our executive producer. So over the past months, we calculated the carbon footprint of our pavilion, and we established a 3-year roadmap for the commissioner and a 5-year roadmap for the producer. So we know that we don't own the truth, and we just wanted to share our approach, and it's an approach among many others, and it's really specific to our organization. It means having a 4-year agreement with a unique executive producer in charge of the production, operating during opening hours, and the building management. So during the workshop, we wanted to share with the participants our considerations, methodology, tools. Actually, we create a calculator, and our conclusions, which is a roadmap. And the objective of the workshop was to think together how the other pavilions could actually apply some actions to their own projects.
Thank you. So we discussed the setup of the pavilions. So we found out that there were 3 big types: pavilions which have producers, pavilions who don't have a selected producer, and so every year it changes. The curators can choose. And the third are the countries which don't have a pavilion, so they have to start even before looking for a place. So we talked a lot about the advantages and disadvantages of having selected producers. So, well, we just discussed the different models and setups that there were. It helped us to try and think about actions that could suit everyone. So about those actions, to be quite concrete, we said the next action would be to create kind of a communication channel, like a Slack or kind of a chat or WhatsApp or whatever software, but something which would enable commissioners to talk more easily. some that are in Venice and some that are not here. So I mean, it's just to keep the link that was made during those 2 days. And then we identified some actions which could lead to work groups or however it goes, but we have ideas for documents, for example, common construction guidelines, very practical things that we could list that could help try and they don't have to be a constraint at first. It can just be a list, and try to work with this list of philosophical directions, kind of like reduce. I mean, everything that's been said during the keynotes kind of are in these guidelines. Have a common manual on Venice and past experiences for curators who arrive and have no experience of Venice, and sometimes their commissioners don't have the time or the tools to explain to them how it works here. So kind of that's also a document. Some pavilions already have one, so maybe share it. Then we have lists of shared data. For example, I have 3. A list of local needs, materials and furniture. That's linked to what Rubienal explained to us, that sometimes you can start a project with the needs of the site. And then 2 common database or lists, that one would be for actors and suppliers, just to know who does what. I mean, from construction to lighting to transport, lots. I mean, you know more, you know what you need. And another list for spaces to rent. Well, we discussed there's maybe a start of this list that's on the Biennale website, but that's also for the pavilions, the nations who don't have a pavilion, so maybe to know where to look. So those are the lists, and then even more ambitious, sharing services. So there could be a collaboration for sharing spaces for pavilions outside the Giardini. So nations who don't have a pavilion could team up and say, we're renting this space together. Or there could be a shared storage for crates to rent tools, to store materials. That has to be run by someone who knows what he's doing with logistics and reuse and circularity and such. And the last, we finished on an opening question, which was kind of, what are we doing? Which was question the rhythm and the format and the economic model of the Biennale. Why is public money from lots of countries coming here? Why are we doing it every year? The rhythm for the commissioners, for the curators, for the suppliers. So that's like a question that we have to keep in mind during every next meeting that we have.
How can I write that down?
What are we doing? It was a question to question the rhythm and the format and the economic model of the Biennale. Or even of commissioning, or I mean, it's broader. It's not just aimed at Biennale. It's okay. So that's all. Yeah, that's.
So thank you very much for the French team, and Mathieu, I'm very, very sorry you have to work on your birthday.
Thank you very much.
So, shall we quickly see whether there's immediate inputs here? Seems so. So we continue to the workshop number 5. Jane.
So the first thing we agreed, everybody in the room said, is that we agreed to stay together as they agreed to stay together as an alliance of pavilions, like it's something that is now a permanent grouping, which it probably was before, but everybody now wants, before you were just talking about things, now everybody agreed to start doing things together, and more the name used most often was the United Pavilions. I think that came from you, Sandy. Then the second thing that everybody agreed was more than a manifesto, is to make some pledges in terms of thinking the future. Agree just the simplest statements that everybody's going to commit to, that the pavilions will commit to. And we don't have a draft of those pledges. The third thing is to agree to a kind of transparency register, which is just by the next Biennale, 2023, each pavilion will list the materials, the quantities, where they come from, how they got here. Nothing, just by saying it, you can preempt any kind of backlash about what you haven't done, because just making this declaration. And then the fourth point was we formed this nest of more complex things that everybody wants to work on together, that within the space of today haven't yet been resolved, but they go from creating a system for sharing knowledge, which links to what came out of your group. It's the issue of perhaps maybe finding some kind of storage system which overlaps with the group number 4. We didn't have time to begin to talk about human resources and how they're used during the exhibitions, and room for improvement in that. The other thing that's important is the expansion of representation in the network, recruiting other national pavilions, more and more. And last but not least, what we're talking about, is a bit more than just recycling some wood, but it is the beginning of a move, not even the beginning, but it does represent part of a general movement. It's not just the wood. We're not seeing, somebody said the elephant in the room, somebody said actually it's a dinosaur. But all these things we know are there, but big change comes from small steps. Lots of little changes, sorry. To end on a positive note, we did mention, we need to maintain the vitality, we need to ensure that there's some kind of resilience in this network to make sure that it carries on, that it doesn't run out of steam, just like the individual pavilions do between one exhibition. As the exhibitions come to a close, that whole thing finishes. And I think it's worth saying now that after we talked about this for a really long time, the penny dropped, and what we're talking about is very much aligned with what's going to be in the German pavilion next year. And so they're going to share some of what they've already done, and it'll be built on independently, but of course the overlap is there, and it'll just serve to consolidate and expand. Did I forget something?
Thank you very much.
Hello, we were in workshop 6, so the workshop about the Green Lion, so the creation of a new prize, a prize for the sustainability. And we were a very mixed group, so we were commissioners, students, professors, and so it was very interesting to see the different point of view. And we discussed some points that we think are important to develop in the, so for the creation of this new prize. And for example, we discussed if it should be a symbolic or real prize, if it can be considered a communication tool, so something that can also show what some pavilions are already doing, and so in a sense inform the other one about this. And we discussed also the parameters which should be used for this prize, and of course it's important that they are made by experts, and so it was like the beginning of this. And we also discussed who could by the jury, so by who could be composed the jury. So we said, for example, that the one that were at this table could be like the example of a jury, so professors of the university. There was, for example, a professor of the University UAV here in Venice, and also the institutions, but also the locals, so like the residents in Venice. What is important is that this prize could be something that like involve the Venetians, because we said it's not only a sustainability prize in sense of material, and yes, that the projects can, of course, it's important that the materials could be reused after the project, but it's also a social sustainability. So for example, we said it's important that the projects of the pavilion have a great impact on the city of Venice. And of course, we said also that it should not be in competition with the Golden Lion, so it's important to make an agreement with the Biennale institution, and also, of course, with the UAV University. And yes, so of course involve the experts and people that are doing it professionally. And yeah, we started to think about a little bit the criteria and the parameters. So of course, the material that are used, are very important. So of course, with this we talk about Rebiennale and what they are doing, and the possibility of reusing and recycling. And yeah, so we also said that it could be something volunteer. So the application of the pavilion could be volunteering. So only the ones that wants to participate, but I think that if 1 year some pavilions are participating, the year later also the other one wants to participate, and so it could be the beginning of this. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, so we started to talk about the Green Lion as a medium of communication. So, which are the goals of giving this Green Lion? And we stated that it's a way of communicating something. So, not only, as said before, something material, but also a social. Something, socially sustainable, and also something that sees the whole process of creating a pavilion. So from the idea to the creation to the dismantling. So yeah, we talked also about the importance of the timing field in this whole process. Then, from a technical point of view, there's this need of a protocol regarding the material used in order to make to give more a sort of scientific aspect to this prize. Yeah, also the social one, yeah, as I said before, but also something really concrete, yeah. And then, yeah, we talked about this importance of some continuous feedbacks from pavilion to the other pavilions, yeah, which could be useful to have like yeah, an idea of what you're doing and how you could be better, you know. And then we define this importance of an agreement between the institution, like the university, the association of architects, for example, and the Biennale itself, to create something really structured. So yeah, this is it, I think. Thank you.
Okay, open mic. Just a second. We have some people online as well, so it's good to use the mic. Huh?
The French team hasn't addressed that they have an Excel sheet that would solve the list of materials and qualities and.
Yeah, so we developed a carbon calculation tool. As I said in the workshop, it's not as pretty as what the Gallery Coalition, Climate Coalition showed, but it's an Excel spreadsheet where you can, from the beginning to the dismantling of your project, add materials that you bought, where do they come from, the catering that you did, the number of travels that your team did, and at the end it gives you a CO2 measure. So we didn't have time to show it, we just showed the results, but we're open to giving out this Excel spreadsheet. Of course, well, it needs to be adapted because I was saying it takes like French factors and not Italian ones, but that can be updated. And but I think it needs, maybe if we do groups afterwards, it needs like to be explained, to be discussed how people would like to use it. So it's, I think it's open source, but it's not easy to use straight away. So yeah, we could maybe set up online meeting to discuss that with pleasure.
Also, in our group, there were several different options. People had, the Germans have a spreadsheet, Superuse have, so there definitely should be a sub-group, working group just to share what you, yeah, because the more uniformity, the better, but it has to be good. It can't be uniform, not good. How about right now, the people that are here that want to enter into this collaboration to produce a shared spreadsheet, why don't you just stand up and say your name and then we can see who can. Is it difficult to do that right now?
You want to share that spreadsheet with me?
No, who want to work together, because their spreadsheet, I'm sure, is really good. Everybody else's spreadsheets must be really good, and they can just combine it or find out that they're all the same.
Hi, sorry, ik zag me kort zoals. Yeah, thank you for this little Zusammenfassung. Now my English is really breaking down. I don't know any more English word. But yeah, we're from Concula, so we do this with an application you can use with your mobile phone, going through buildings and make this catalog. And for example, in Germany, we're now working with the DIN-Normung. I know it's very German, but it can help sometimes to make a standard for different things. And we try to do a standard for this spreadsheet, whatever, for this catalog, for this inventory. And we do it not by our own, because it makes no sense, of course, but I think there are around 20 different institutions who work all together at this DIN-Normung for half a year now to do something like a standard inventory. So, and maybe when we do this next appointment and everybody wants to join, everybody can show how you work, and then maybe we can figure out what's usable. Peter, you want to say something?
Tried to say it yesterday, but it was maybe not so clear. But we are also mapping currently the art biennale, to put it, and together with Concula, we are putting this into a sheet and into our app. So this is definitely something we should talk about for. I mean, this is for the coming architecture biennale, but it could be something that it could be developed further, I think, together with others.
That's a joint meeting. It's a joint meeting of the people who work on these tools to refine it, define it, what is the best way to share it, and after that, yeah. So are you gonna invite for this, or how do we do that? Or the other way?
We should exchange emails first, and then we see.
Yeah, I mean, we have I would ask the commissioners to also, if we don't have everyone on the list, to give us the right addresses. But most of the addresses we have here now, I think, on our long list as well. We just didn't put them on the wall there. But these names, I think, Anita, is that correct? All these names there, we have the email address. We have the names on the long list. We have all those emails of the people. Yes, so if you're there, we have it.
Maybe you can invite everybody who's interested, who can join, right?
Well, I would probably pragmatically see it a bit as a working group, you know, like this is a bit a problem. I mean, the discussion about getting bigger, again, a bit the history of our group. We used to be 6, 7, 8 pavilions, and the meetings online were overseeable. Everybody could say what they wish, what their opinion is. Now with the snowball system, we're getting so big that we lose a bit, Severa, you're experienced with it too, that we lose a bit the overview, who is part of it, who is not. So I tend to propose working groups to finalize something and then share it on a broader level, if that's okay.
But I think it's not the same because, for example, our tool, you have to collect a lot of data and it just calculates. It's like a calculator. But you have a lot of work to do before, which is what you guys are doing, and they are making the collection of data more rigorous and more easy with an app, and so it's not at the same. Like in a project, it's not the same moment, so maybe we have to, I mean, if we do like 1 hour of Zoom and I present, they present, then it's a lot of information for different uses. So maybe we have to first talk about between ourselves what each tool does, so that then we can propose to everybody, okay, we'll do half an hour on this. It's for people who want to go from I have data, I want CO2, or you need to think about all the material flow before, after, and how you, and that's your tools. Okay.
But I think we also want to know you know, in terms of transparency, how we can come to, because you also said yours is kind of big-ish, and perhaps it can be smaller in terms of what we all share. So I think there's the things that you do for your own pavilion and need to know the nitty-gritty and the toilet paper, and then you have the larger thing that we can all share and then kind of see how we're doing collectively.
Okay. I'm quite open.
Another thing that we said, I'm not sure how much consensus there was, I think there was consensus in our room, was that the pavilions that commit to this transparency register have like a sign at the entrance or a QR code, an identifying sign, and building on from the Ursula de Castro's project in the Fashion Biennale, that they had special tours of the city. We could, from the Venice side, one could inform the local tour guides that when they bring people to visit the Biennale, there could be special pavilion circuits that include, that specialize in the pavilions that are part of this United Pavilions scheme. And that in a way could also link to the Green Lion initiative, you know, like a distinguishing feature, but not as a competition who's the most green, but just that we're all working together to be greener every single iteration of what we have to do.
To be a kind of Green Lion label for those pavilions who are ready to be transparent. Is that what you want to say? Like we could put something up in the pavilion which would say we're part of this initiative. Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mike, please, we have people online, so it's important to have the mic, sorry.
I just thought one detail that was discussed was this idea of, instead of putting energy into sort of fighting the big beast of the Biennale, the idea that there's this parallel, energies are going into creation rather than exhaustion. That kind of came out. And so that's my only question. That's sort of why the idea that to have the stamp of the Green Lion is that you're making an alternative set of values. You're not jostling with each other to win the Green Lion as a prize, but Green Lion is more a state of being, something to inhabit. For those that read C.S. Lewis, Aslan, is a kind of state of mind to become the Green Lion rather than making another competition. Because particularly architecture is full of competitions. And I think to not make this a competition, but rather it's a way, a lens for seeing the world. And I know people love winning competitions, but I wonder whether there was such interest, there was such generosity, and also, perhaps one little detail from the group was what happens when you're the first is it your first time? Where do I begin? And so in a sense, the Green Lion is also a friendly guide to find your way through the labyrinths of the Biennale. So that was just a reflection of something I've heard. I don't know if and for the students to enter into something where there's a sense that what they bring is of value, but they're not trying to, it's not another deadline, another charrette, another competition.
I find that really important, and that goes to you, like to rethink, and Jane said the same. It's not about competing. It's really wonderful how you formulated it, the guide through the forest or labyrinth. Something like that. The prize doesn't have to be just one and only winner. It can be a label. It can be a means of communication, state of mind, you said, that can be developed, I'm sure. Thank
you. Yeah, just to say yes, exactly, from the Lion Group. It's really, really complex, as we all in the different workshops that we have, that the field that we are trying to cover, it's so complex that we cannot make one prize to cover it all, or say that now that we have the Green Lion, these are thinking all the mindsets and all the points of views of sustainability. But we have to make a basic thoughts or parameters that are like the lowest level that you have to have it to enter to take part in it, and then maybe not covering everything, but have thematics or focuses on different years. Like this year we are focusing on this point of view of sustainability, not covering everything every year on every prize or so on. And I think, I know. I see that too, not as a prize, as a good example or best practices that we are working on. And also I was talking in the group that all of the participants could show like a RISE discussion on a matter that, for example, this year's project that we are exhibiting, we are extremely proud of this part of it. We managed to do this sustainability, and this is setting an example, learning experience for everyone, and then perhaps on an opposite side, saying aloud that this has been a really challenging for us. Yeah. And please explain me, how did you do it, as we are talking here, like sharing experiences.
I mean, the COP27 is very recent, and we're Grenada's here, but there is not representatives of the Global South and those who, say, I've had quite, I'm very affected by the actions of rich countries, and I'm just surviving. Is that a green line? I've actually come to this Biennale, and I think, that sense, those issues around representation, intersections of representation, and I think everything that was being discussed today of sharing, co-location, knowledge sharing, shifting, what the Dutch pavilion did of giving up their pavilions, all of those seem to be fantastic green line examples. And that, showing how holding things in common. So I think those are things that would be interesting, maybe, to invite some other pavilions to, like once you've written it, people will be able to react, which is fantastic. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to say, go behind the speakers, if I'm right, we have also Portugal, Japan, and Poland with us. I looked at Zoom. So we are a bit bigger than just here in the space. Yeah, but the Global South is not really present, that's true. So, how do you feel? Is that enough as a summary? We can discuss this. It's a bit small how I wrote it, but to-do list. Okay. I can summarize. Well, it's all to do, I think. Very simple. Okay, communication channel for commissioners. I think that's feasible. We can do that quite soon and easily. I'll try to go to the list, but maybe you'll have to help me. Huh? Then you have ideas for documents which can be shared. We have to find a space. I mean, we work already in the commissioners group with a document place where we have some documents. Probably we should just reinforce that and share it more, but that kind of exists. We just need to go through the list of documents. I think this can be done. It's a bit the question who would lead that program. Is it still, can you manage that, or do we have to define someone else to, I mean, people could also propose useful documents, but where they have to be generated, it's still some work. I mean, I can see immediately a list of suppliers which work in a way we find it good, for instance, quality and sustainability and so on. Shall we just start a list and everybody puts their suppliers on that list, or is that too simple? Yeah, and so on. I'm not going to go through all the single documents, but I think some of this is feasible. What's going to happen as a to-do is this meeting regarding the list of materials, where Concola is going to be involved, the Netherlands and France, where we propose a small meeting to clarify what you need, then probably a bigger meeting, and then we can hopefully share something between all interested pavilions in the future. Did I not mention? Yeah, Germany I mentioned through Concola, that's okay, but I mean, it's Germany, of course, yeah. What are we doing? Well, that's something I ask myself every day. That is a bit more complex, but I don't know how this is a very open philosophical question. Shall we? Sebra.
I posed the question, but I think it was nascent in the room. I think lots of people have been talking about it. If I'm happy to, I don't know, maybe start some document or convene a meeting that might address this. I think the point is that we want to, I think Matthias said it, we want to address some of the big questions while also making the small moves toward the changes we can make in the coming years, while also still asking some big questions about if the whole thing is sustainable. But I'm happy to lead that if that helps.
Yes.
Concerning the lists, is the list of contact details also updated?
That's a bit tricky one, because we never managed to really, I mean, as I said, as an example, one nation complained last night to me, why are we not with you there? Because they are just not in our system. And it's a bit difficult to have a complete actual list. That's a big job because people change. Yeah. These people we have on the list, everybody who is in the room is on the list and has the emails. That the question is probably to ask this very concretely. Are you happy to share all your emails within the group who was here yesterday and today? So then it's easy. Then we have that list. We can share that. Anita, we can send this list to everybody with the emails. Huh? Okay. I mean, it's always going to be a bit a snowball system. We can't, I mean the ones who came, for instance, additionally yesterday and today, we put them immediately on the list. So we have those people. But yeah, we cannot guarantee that the whole Biennale is on our list. That's not going to be the case. And people, I mean, we really announced it, I think, it was also the Netherlands, I think, during the big meeting of the Biennale. You said this is happening, we said it, and everybody who took part had the chance to get in contact with us. We said which contact it is. And probably that's something, a small thing that we repeat that when it happens, that we tell again the story of our group. Okay. Yeah. Make some pledges, commitments. I don't know, is that a document which we start, or we say that to ourselves at home? How can that be done? Yeah, there's microphones there.
I guess ideally one should have like one statement from now that will go into the it could even go in the Instagram tonight, or definitely in the Monday document, and it could be something really totally simple, like the network has moved from, talking to action, and the first action is a commitment to a transparency register. This will be created based on information contributed by the French and German pavilions. And it's just the first step of a much greater set of ambitions. I just made that up. I mean, it's what I heard. Maybe, oh no, wait. The other thing is that we mustn't forget that that there's a commitment, very important, that all these pavilions have committed to recognizing that the Biennale takes place in the living city of Venice, and are going to pledge to, as they plan and execute their work here, their exhibitions here, to always think about what their legacy is going to be for the city. So just as much as it's a question of, thinking about sustainability and suitability, the sustainability includes the suitability for Venice, without interfering in Venice.
Perfect. I think that's it, and we'll try to put that in the text. Yeah.
I need to go now.
Jane, thank you so much for being with us. Okay, creating a system to share knowledge. I think that's covered with the list, that's repeated. Well, the human resources we have to also take in account. We're talking a lot about materials, but it came several times, this kind of idea that we also have to look at the human resources. I do not have an immediate solution, but that should appear somewhere on that list, I believe, somehow. We'll get another microphone.
Yeah, I think it came up, and I'm not necessarily volunteering here, but perhaps there's people that want to do a working group around that, and how we can hire invigilators, because it came up yesterday, I think, in our workshop, and many people were not conflicted, but didn't know, there's many different ways of doing this. So is that indeed a question that we want to address in a wider context, or is it just a point of attention? It just needs to be listed.
Okay, so is that then on hold? On hold? Yeah, probably we keep that in our group. I think it's really also an important aspect when we hear what Tommaso and Giulio told us about how things happen during build-up or dismantling. I think we have to take care of the human resources as well, very much here and wherever it happens. Yeah, culture is probably the worst paid field, and working for culture, we have to think of that. Okay, but on hold. We do represent a movement. Yes, we do. We are here, we're doing it, and I think we'll continue being this group and hopefully growing in some way. We can communicate that, maintain vitality, resilience, not run off steam. I hope not. We'll just continue. I don't know. I mean, I could imagine that this is a first meeting, but not the last meeting, of course. I mean, we all had probably doubts to come here because of traveling and everything. But maybe if we strategically, cleverly put it around other events of the Biennale. Let's say if we do pavilion days next autumn or so, maybe around that time, it doesn't have to be 2 days, of course. We can just have a meeting, or a working group can meet in Venice, of course. Yeah. I'm not worried that this is not going to happen. I think that was more or less number 4 and 5. And regarding the 6, I think we can keep it short because the task is given. We have people who are going to look after that. I offered before in the group, if that's okay for my colleagues, Sini, that I'm very happy to also, as I'm quite often in Venice, as we run a cultural program and other things here, that I'm happy to meet also some professor or some responsible from the UAV University as a starting point to see whether we can institutionally kind of find an anchor that this becomes official part of your curriculum or kind of a workshop mode or whatever it will be, because I understand very well that we cannot just say, oh, we do this and the university starts tomorrow. We have to find a very clever way to administrationally enter it and become part of it. I think, but for the rest, is that okay for you? It's being discussed, yeah. Okay. Any more questions, inputs? I would just, at the end, if not, because I think it's also time, if I look at the clock. Yeah, it's almost 5, you're good in time. Giulio.
I want to say for the visit in Casette that the weather is going bad still. So it's raining, it's strong wind, so it should be suffering, be there. Yeah. No, because it is all outdoor, so to show the neighborhood, but now so the situation is not. So our proposal is for whom is staying tomorrow to have a visit tomorrow that the sun will shine.
Is it going to be sunny tomorrow?
Yes.
We have to ask
Could
colleagues.
Yeah.
Who is going to be around? What time would be suitable? We have some planning meeting for our finissage, but what time would you propose?
Lunchtime, maybe if anyone has some work to do, maybe the lunchtime could be spent in the island.
Yes.
For us too, because we were, I will be with the German team in Morion for some workshops.
Yeah. Okay. Where would we meet? At Palanca?
At Palanca.
Okay, so 12 o'clock tomorrow at Palanca. Who is around who can come tomorrow? Who is still? Hands up, please. Yes. Okay, it's going to be a small group, but in the sunshine it sounds attractive. Is that okay, Raul? You're leaving? Yeah. Okay. Because I think it's really, we're going to get wet. We imagined the wonderful sunset apero with the locals there, but today it doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, so,
I just don't feel good that human resources is on hold. I don't think that this is the right moment, and I'm happy to do whatever, because it's like really more important than wood.
Thanks for bringing that up. So does that mean you take some action on that? Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. So great. So this is the good final statement. Sarah.
Before we close, speaking of human resources, I think we should thank Switzerland and Sandy. I think we want, firstly, thank you particularly to the countries that have moderated the sessions and have prepared, Netherlands, Austria, Germany, Finland, France, Switzerland. and to the local initiatives as well. And again, thank you to Switzerland on behalf of all of us.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you all. And thanks to our team, especially to Rachele Giudici and Anita Magni, who were all the time involved, but Jacqueline Wolf and the other helpers. Tommaso, thanks. There was a big installing the technical equipment last Saturday, I think. I was online from abroad checking everything. And thank you for the technical support. That was great. Thank you all for contributing. One last thing I have to hassle you with, as you're in a Swiss cultural space. We do some things for the finissage. So if you haven't had enough of Palazzo Trevisan, you could join us on Friday evening, 7:30, of a concert evening, because our pavilion is called The Concert, but there is no music in the pavilion. But the music's going to be here Friday evening. So if you're in the mood for a concert, join us here. Or if you're not coming here, Saturday afternoon we have at 4:30 in the pavilion, and at 5 we have 2 sets of acoustic performance in the Swiss pavilion. And also later in the evening in the space Cosmo on Giudecca we have again 8:30 concerts. You find all that on our Pro Helvetia site or the Baniels.ch site. So you're happily welcome to join us. It would be great to see you during the last days of the Biennale. Thanks for coming and have a nice evening. Some of you we may see tomorrow at Palanca.